All right, we'll see if we can get through another one. So, largest protein source. Point being is that now, when you get out in the countries, in any given place around here, there's generally more cattle than there are people in a lot of places. Now, does that literally mean that there's enough to go around? Not really. We have a family herd, and there's really not enough there to live off of, even though there's about 100 of them, because they're producing, and you lose some here and there, and it's hard to understand for most people, especially people that want to just go out and steal. But theft is very destructive because you're taking away from the profit margin of another person who has worked very hard for that and has put a lot of money, blood, sweat, tears, time, effort, labor, all of which count for something into that operation. So just anyway, enough on that. But so until point in time that you reach, or we reach, or anybody individual reaches where they can feed themselves and defend themselves, then in the animal kingdom they would be considered an adult. So what Galen's pointing out here is that, I wrote in my poem Alas Babylon in the year 2000, the war we waged for freedom, the war we fought for freedom 200 years ago, lasted for 8 long dark years. Hunger pangs did many know. How many people are honestly prepared for 8 years of hunger, 8 years of hard times? None of us. We have 6 months of food, it's gone. If you lose your job, we have a year's supply of food, and within 6 months it's gone. If we lose our job or something, it doesn't last. None of us are prepared for this. So what's coming down at us? And I'm telling you, it's coming down like a freight train. So that's what Galen's was trying to get across here. And he understands to the point that we're going to this farm restoration congress, where we're trying to get farms back into the hands of people that can grow food on them, rather than letting them go to the banks, being divvied up by relatives, turned into, housing subdivisions or whatever, conservation land. So that's what we need to do. That's where we need to be. We must tell the truth until it sinks in. Food and freedom are linked at the individual level, not even at a community level. If you're not producing some kind of food, in the long run, somebody's going to die because of that. I mean, every one of us needs to be producing something. That's how I would, phrase this in a long-term downturn scenario, the end of the world as we know it. It's going to come down to that. We need to be community-based, and we need to be productive. Now, can everybody do everything? No, we've all learned that out here. I mean, these guys out here, they come out here and I'm Superman. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do cattle and goats and sheep and dogs and ducks and geese. And, no, it ain't going to happen. You have a niche, everybody can have a few chickens. The reason why the Ozarks were so awesome place to live during the Great Depression, the Great Depression came and went, and news of it got to the Ozarks, and they went, "Oh, really? Wow, it sounds like it was pretty bad." Because nothing changed for them. Most people here, they had their 40 acres, they had their dairy cow, they had their goats, they had some chickens, and they had a garden, and they had an orchard, and what the heck else do you need? They had their own well. A lot of them were more wealthy during the Depression than they were before the Depression happened, because they were bigger food producers, or they had bigger capability to help people. And they actually made money during the Depression. Their food was worth more. One woman not too far from here could ride a bike over there, walk, whatever, not too far, bought 1,000 acres during that time, because she charged people 50 cents a week for room and board, or 50 cents a day, whatever it was. I think it was 50 cents a week. Room and board, they got a good place. It was safe. It was out of the city. It was cheaper than what it would cost them to live in the city. And they had good, healthy food. And with that 50 cents, she bought 1,000 acres. Acre that time sometimes would go for, a 40-acre farm near us went for $1. So what is land worth? Is it going to go up or down? I'd say it's probably going to go down. Gold ain't going to cut it. Gold's going to be pretty much worthless. So Oh, crisis is imminent, below the underlining there, and coming on an unimaginable scale. Does anyone doubt this? It is just a matter of time. Achieve the restoration goal to again become a proud and independent people. If we do so, retaining our Second Amendment rights will count for something. The Constitution of the United States will remain historically meaningful if and only if we the people can again feed ourselves. The conservative answer: mobilize a coordinated and comprehensive restoration of our regional food supply system. Restoration must be by and for the people of this Missouri Ozarks region. It's a bigger region than that, Galen. I keep telling him, but, oh well, that's okay. He's doing a lot. He's doing more in a couple counties there than anybody's doing in the whole country. This way we'll have a resilient economy, one that can stand on our own when hard times come. However, we eventually define sustainable, call it what you will. It must be based on a foundation of food security. We must be able to feed ourselves indefinitely, right? Correct. We must be able to feed ourselves indefinitely. We have to have the water capability, the labor, tools, equipment to make that happen. I wanted to make a point about it where he talks about the Constitution and the Second Amendment and, we the people. I don't buy into that whole paradigm. We're shifting out of that paradigm into what I believe the kingdom paradigm, a theocracy. We the people is basically a false god of the Constitution, and the Constitution is not a Christian document. Written by a bunch of Masons and outwardly Christian deists, yes, but every point of the Constitution is not only not biblically based, it is anti-biblically based, anti-Christian, anti-God, and anti-Bible. So, just my 2 cents worth. And if you want to look more on that, Ted Weiland has a website, missiontoisrael.org, and a book called The Bible and the U.S. Constitution. Look that up. It's free online. You can read it. Oh, don't do that. Okay. So, and he proves that point after point after point that the Constitution is not a Christian document. Alrighty, next page. Dink. All right. So I left y'all hanging some time ago, and I covered this all today, and my voice is going to give out here pretty dang quick. So I'm going to wrap this one up because I have no idea how much longer I've got quiet. This was a miraculous day in that sense. 100 minutes of recording. I haven't been able to achieve that without the phone going dead or something going wrong, and then the microphone was bad the whole time. I got another headset, fortunately. Thank you. My son David blessed me with this weekend. The Ozark Plateau is plural as compared to the Swiss nation / plateau. A feasibility study regarding the size and population base which the Ozark Plateau is capable of sustaining as compared to the entire nation of Switzerland. So the reason I did this was every once in a while I'd wake up in the morning and a question would be in my mind, or I'd ask a question, and before the question was done in my mind, the answer would be there, and it would be so obvious, so stunningly powerful, clear, simple, majestic. I would go like, man, everybody in the world should see this, but they don't. Why, I don't know. Well, in this case, I woke up and I was thinking, well, because I've been making comparisons like, well, the Ozark Plateau is mountainous, all the people are the same, basic ethnicity and racial and religious base and like-minded and honest and hardworking. And, there's a lot of scum here too, but by and large, it's a homogeneous population base demographically. Got a lot of resources. It's mountainous, i.e., in a military scenario, it'd be harder to invade, easier to defend, harder to invade. All those, however you want to phrase that. So I was casting around in history and geography for a time and a place and a nation that was somewhat like the Ozark Plateau, and I looked up Afghanistan, 9 million square miles, 90 million square miles, something like that. I don't know. It's huge. 900 million, I think, yeah. And well, that don't fit. Although they are mountainous and they like to fight and all that good stuff. You know, the Mujahideen freedom fighters, they fought alongside the U.S. forces against Russia when Russia invaded. And, you know, years later, you know, we go in and they said, we're not fighting for freedom. We just like to fight. You know, they'll fight anybody. Afghanistan, if you're not aware of the fact, it is known as the graveyard of empires. When a nation evolves into an empire and thinks they're badass enough to go in and invade Afghanistan, that means that they're on their deathbed. And Russia did that, and the empire fell apart, and America is doing that, did that, and, you know, it just means you're on your last leg when you're stupid enough to invade Afghanistan. It's like invading, you know, Russia in the wintertime, or Finland. And, you know, Russia invaded Finland in the wintertime, for crying out loud. Russia knows how to, you know, wage war in the winter. Not when you're not in your own country. They went into Finland and lost 40-1. 40-1. Stalin said, I sent 1.5 million soldiers into Finland. 1 million of them never came home. You don't mess with the Indigs on their own territory. So, mountainous terrain, easier to defend. Simple rule of warfare. One of the most simple things in history that for people to understand, and they don't have a clue about it, and that's fine. I'm not here to teach history. I'm just here to point out some similarities and differences. So, Swiss Plateau is about 1/5 to 1/10 as big as the Ozark Plateau, and it is, you know, it's a nation you don't mess with. Hitler, before World War II, he met with the Swiss leaders and he said, what will you do if I invade your country with 1 million men? And he assumed they would like, well, let's just make peace. Let's make peace. The Swiss retort to Hitler about that question about invading Switzerland was, they kind of shrugged their shoulders and they said, well, shoot twice and go home. And he didn't mess with them. I mean, you don't mess with a country that has that kind of terrain that you have no familiarity with. Same thing with the Winter War, 1939, Russia invading Finland. Literally 40-1 kill ratio. Because they knew how to ski, they knew their own homeland, and they could shoot. If you think the shoot and ski thing in the Olympics is a game, you are sadly mistaken. So, anyway, that was the idea there. So the Swiss Plateau is fairly similar to the Ozark Plateau in a lot of ways. Like-minded people, pretty much all the same, you know, racial stock. It's got terrain that's not favorable. The biggest difference is that the Swiss Plateau is only 5,000 square miles, where the Ozark Plateau is like 40,000 square miles. So it's, you know,